Hey everyone, welcome to the People Speak Out, and it's great to be hosting for the third time in a row. Both Helen and Sass are away, so it's good to be in the host seat. Um, yeah, good to see you on the call. I know we're getting into summer holidays, aren't we? And everyone's busy. I'm off to the All About Love Festival on Thursday for 4 days, and yeah, so lots happening. So it would be good to hear from you and to see what's unfolding in your world, anything that you want to discuss or raise. And you know how to do that. You put the yellow hands up symbol up, and that way you come to the top of the screen, and I know to come to you. So before we start coming to you, I just want to share this morning. It's just such a grey day in the Peak District. It's been such sort of unsettled weather, and kind of some days a little bit sunny and windy and drizzly. But today it's just blanket grey cloud, and I have to admit to having a kind of a sort of feeling a bit depressed actually this morning. So I just wanted to share just a few things which, and I'm sure you have your own techniques that you want to share on how to manage your motivation. So I'm just going to share a few of my own. The number one thing for me is having a kind of some kind of spiritual practice. And so one of the things I do every morning, pretty much without fail, for 6 mornings a week, is to do morning mantras with Lucidia and Raphael, which is an online thing from 9 a.m. to 9:40, and we sing 3 mantras. And it's just so wonderful just to sing along. And I have a rattle. I don't know if you know about the power of rattling and drumming. It's actually very, very soothing to rattle and drum if you want to shift your vibration. The other big thing for me is to go out in nature. I've just taken Kobe for a walk by the river, and that's a really good way of clearing your energy field, just to go out into nature and in the forest, by the river, by the sea, wherever you can, even just sitting in your garden for a bit, just to get back into that 0 point of nature. Another big thing which I learned on the 88 Activate program is to have that last like 20 seconds or so of your shower to turn the temperature from hot to cold. I don't go all the way cold, but I kind of go to pretty much tepid. And it's kind of like a reset. It's like switching your computer on and off, or your mobile phone on and off. It kind of clears your nervous system, and it's a really good way just to kickstart your energy field. And the final little tip is to make yourself a nice cup of raw cacao, fancy choc. And this is a recipe that I had in Spain. It's kind of like a raw cacao hot chocolate, and oh, it's just so delicious. So I've made myself a cup of fancy choc to kind of open my heart a bit. It's beautiful, and far better for you than far better for us than coffee, than that kind of caffeine hit. So much as I do like a latte. So anyway, just to share a few tips, and I do feel a lot better than I did maybe 3 hours ago. So I'd love you to share your top tips for motivation, because this is, to me, one of the key things, is this ability to keep going no matter what. And I know that from a business point of view, it's so important, any project. And most people's energy is kind of a bit like a firework. So big initial enthusiasm, which quickly tails off. But to be that kind of marathon runner who can keep energy going consistently over a long period of time, that is what works wonders. And it's certainly worked wonders for the Crestbrook project. I shared some good news on that we've managed to lift all of our charges and free up the whole of that land. We negotiated in another 17 acres of land. And so that is just like, wow. And that actually came through a lot of spiritual work and intention setting. It wasn't trying to struggle with the 3D. It was literally letting go and letting God, chanting, praying, setting intentions, and magic happened. So I just I know how powerful these techniques are. So anyway, that's enough of me rambling on. It's 5 minutes past 12. Who would like to come on and kick off the call? Lovely, Carol. Nice to see you. And let's come to you. Or
Mine's
come to
only
speak of you. Hold on. Yeah. Hi,
I've,
Carol.
mine's only a quickie, but it's quite interesting because I have to where I live. We've got communal gardens,
Yeah.
and for historic reasons, I've got two very toxic male directors. And I came to a realization a couple of weeks ago that they're actually 3D characters that can't cope with a 5D character. Uh, and it's been quite funny because once I started putting it in that perspective, my whole attitude with them completely changed. Um, and it's just like, oh, poor little things. They'll get over it maybe at some stage. And it's been quite useful.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at their, I mean, their behavior is absolutely diabolical. Um, I could have them on so many different grounds, but it's like, hey, what's the point?
Give us some examples, Carol. Put some meat on the bone for us there. What kind of things have
Oh,
you had to endure from these
I
people?
they continually try and bully you. Um, it's like I've managed the close pretty well by myself for 6 years. It's 29 houses with communal grounds. Um, I've got the one director is on the verge of a mental breakdown, and it's like he's been going to look at doing the light replacements for nearly 12 months now. The nearest we've got is two pictures of the two options, but it's like he doesn't think about, well, is the pole still new, or does the pole need addressing? Does the wiring need addressing? Is the fitting going to give us the light we need for where it is? None of this he thinks about. It. He doesn't even know how bright they are. And I'm there like going, and you've been working on this for 12 months. Okay. And yet I've been sorting out a really complicated, what should have been a simple um, freehold gardens purchase. And you wouldn't believe the bad conveyancing. The more I look into conveyancing, the more a nightmare it is, because conveyancers don't know what they're doing at all. But and in each meeting, I get a bollocking for the fact that I'm progressing it and making progress, but I don't actually go back to them every 5 minutes and say, "Oh, I'm doing this. Is this okay? I'm doing this. Is this okay?" I just get on and do it, and that's completely unacceptable. But by the other director, who's a Rick's surveyor, a fellow of Rick's, I tell you, I'm sure Rick's would be curling up in a ball if they saw his attitude to how he bullies people, how he talks down to people. Um, Sexual discrimination, I think there's definitely an element there. But he picks the bits that he wants to pick that are relevant to his discussion. It's like he's meant to be managing we've got flat roofs and he's meant to be overseeing that. And yet whenever I raise a question, I'm being negative. Um, and he's not going to listen to or not going to answer my negative questions. And it's like, no, I'm just doing due diligence. And he can't get his head around that. He's also pissed off our managing agent. And we're left with one option locally to go with. But they haven't even checked to see, well, we've got this currently with the current guys. What have we got with the new guy? They don't even know. They haven't asked the question. And I'm there thinking, do I have to do the due diligence for everything? You're meant to be making my life easier by taking the workload off me. I've got a fence. I've got a quote from a guy to do the fencing that we've got issues with. I've got a guy coming later today to look at putting in some hawthorn and native breeds to fill up a hedge gap to improve security. I've almost completed, or the completion for the freehold should be going through today. I'm hopefully rescuing a sale that's been going on for 6 months, pending a response because there needs to be a deed of variation, and I won't bore you with that. And it's like, I'm doing all of this, and they're doing, if you excuse the language, not a lot. And yet I get it in the grief and I get talked down to in meetings, and I'm there going, do I retaliate? Nah, it's not worth it.
Okay, Carol. Well, we get the drift. I have to gently remind you that 5D does mean unity consciousness. So I always ask
Oh, yeah.
myself in these situations, how did I manifest this, and what is this triggering in me, and what is the sort of flavor of it that maybe it's an echo of a past relationship or
Well,
something.
part of it is standing up and speaking for myself, which I tend to take the easy route. But it's interesting because I know that as things come out, the one guy, his mind is just not going to accept it. But we did have an interesting conversation with the other director because he can't get his head around why I'd spend 3 weeks looking into a licensing application system that Birmingham City Council have brought in to list and gather all the issues with it, to go after the council to say this isn't fit for purpose, but I get no pay for it. He just cannot get his head around that. So I'm planting seeds and questioning and challenging him. So, but I'm
Carol, well,
not.
thank you for coming on and sharing all of that with us. And
But I,
it's interesting, isn't it, how the false matrix is very seductive and pulling us in with all of its tricks and its traps.
but it's good because whereas I used to let them get me really angry and wound up in it, now it's just like sad little creatures. You just got to feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just what I was going to fill the gap with for you. Right, I'll go.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks for coming on and kicking off the call. Let's come next to Elaine, who's got her hand up, and then we'll come to James. And anyone else who wants to speak, please put your hand up. This is the People Speak Out. I mean, I'm sure I could just ramble on all for the whole hour, but it's good to hear from as many people as we can. Hi, Elaine.
Hello, hello. This
Hi.
is the first time I've spoken,
Oh, well done.
but I've followed you right from the beginning. It's you've been very uplifting at most of the time, and feelings, that I've had. It seems like we're all going along in the same direction, which has been very comforting, I guess. And my husband and myself, we are very much on you create what you want in your life, and we're thinking back as to how we've created everything that we've done. We've been very fortunate in a lot of ways. We've we went sailing when we retired at 55 with a very small pension in 2007, and the small pension that we thought if we went sailing it would do, it would expand, actually did that, and it really closed up for us because the world changed in 2008 and everything became much more expensive for us. But we carried on and just did what we were doing, and we're trying to do. We're not sailing anymore. We're in a house now, uh, and and have all our wonderful memories. But right now, my husband had health problems at the end of last year, and although we weren't, neither of us have had the intervention. He had an aneurysm, a brain bleed.
Okay.
And he, it took us a long time to realize what had happened, but actually we've come to realize we do all sorts of alternative therapies, but he had to have a brain operation as well. But he's doing really, really well. And I've forgotten where I was going with all that, but we're having acupuncture. He's having acupuncture from a traditional Chinese acupuncturist, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Mm.
From being able to move his or close his left hand, he couldn't make a fist, and his left, the whole of his left side was left very, very weak. um, he's got such a positive attitude, and in only 6 7 months, he's got himself almost back to normal. He can walk 6 miles, um, and yeah, he's just doing very, very well. And we've had to draw on our beliefs,
Mm.
of you create what you want. And
Yeah.
actually, when we think about it now, he was running on adrenaline before,
Mm. Yeah.
and he was drinking a lot of coffee, and uh, you know it could be 6 7 cups of coffee a day. But
Wow.
so he'd got an addiction going on there. But he's a bit of a he was a bit of a workaholic, and it just kept him going. We're in our 70s, but he was doing all sorts of jobs for different people, looking after an older lady as well. And because he's an engineer, everybody everybody knew, um, that they could call on him, and they
Yeah.
did, and he tried to respond. Um, but in so doing, he damaged his own health.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, and now he's on 1 cup of coffee in the morning. That's it. And he's learning to say no,
Yeah.
which, which is good. Um, but it's,
Ah.
yeah, it's quite amazing. And we have he's had an appointment at the hospital, which is 100 miles away, um, last week, for checkups, an MRI scan, which he didn't really want, but and an angiogram, which an angiogram is sending dye into the brain and then having an X-ray to see what's going on in there.
Yeah.
Uh, and it all fell apart last week. Um, we got to the hospital the night before, which is when they told him to arrive, only to be told that there wasn't a bed, um, and that he should come back at 7 o'clock the next morning.
Mm.
The MRI scan, but uh, and the whole we got there at 7 o'clock the next morning, and um, he was kept waiting in this awful gown and
Mm.
cannula in his hand, and didn't get an MRI. They wouldn't do the angiogram until they'd done the MRI scan. He didn't get the MRI scan until 5 o'clock in
Mm.
the evening, and we were both wondering, what had happened. Why was that? And we realised it's because he didn't want it. He didn't want the
Oh, so he
actual.
was in resistance.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
totally. So
Oh,
we've
okay.
we've had we've had to accept responsibility for that, and but he's got another appointment at the same hospital tomorrow, so we'll see
Yeah.
what then.
Well,
He's
Elaine, thank you for coming on. Sorry, there's lots of people with their hand up,
oh,
and it's good to hear from you. And thank you for making your first People Speak Out session. And I really hope your husband gets well and his health
thank you.
improves. So
It,
thank you for sharing.
he is. Thank you very much. Thank you for being there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Elaine. Um, yeah, it's interesting to hear about all the tricks and traps of the false matrix as it draws us in. James, let's come to you next. Hi, James.
Hello,
Hi, James. Hi.
Rachel and the gang. I've just thought I'd come on because there weren't many people waiting. I have nothing major to say, but I just thought I'd start off. You started off about the weather, so I'll tell you it's drizzly and grey here in the Isle of Wight as well.
Oh,
And then moving on swiftly from the usual English conversation about the weather, we can go on to motivation. Without wishing to sound like I'm plugging myself or writing, I've been writing and others have been writing spiritual teaching books for decades and so forth. Some of them going back centuries. And the problem before all this nonsense started with the 2020, I don't like using the word lockdown and all that sort of thing, because that's one of their words. But before all that started, there was a lot of people trying to get the word out that life is eternal and we never die. So one of my motivations, you're on about motivations, is to help teach people that aspect. But of course, they also need to be aware of the dark agenda, as I call it. And I've featured all of this in my most recent book, The Great Awakening, and what the spirit guides say. So I've been trying to reach more and more people. So that's what motivates me. Just keep going, because you never know. There's always one or two people you can awaken that weren't awake before, to the dark agenda. But even more importantly, to the fact that life's eternal, and we're in the middle of a sort of adventure down here. Sometimes
yeah.
a painful adventure and one we don't particularly enjoy. But eventually we go home to the spirit life where we came from in the first place, and we all move on. So that's my motivation for keeping going, because you can always reach one or two more people here and there, and I have discovered this over the recent years, or recent times especially.
Yeah.
There's lots of people I used to know weren't awake to the dark agenda in particular. But now they are. Wherever you go, you bump into people, and they seem to be aware. Obviously, there's lots of people not aware, but that's heads in the sand type people.
Yeah.
Just don't want to investigate anything. But as I say, I've had that problem. We've had that problem for centuries, 150, 200 years in the spiritual movement, of trying to
James,
awaken people to the reality of
have,
eternal life.
have you
People
got
didn't want to listen, but now, unfortunately, the flip side of the dark agenda is there's more people realizing the spiritual side as well.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So
So-
we're very pleased about that. And
James, have you got your
that's
book
basically-
there? Can you show
Pardon?
us your book?
Oh, well, I've got some of them by me here.
Show us some of your books so that we can see
The most recent
titles
one
and
was The Great Awakening.
Okay, nice.
But an ideal one for teaching basic stuff, if you know the spirit stuff, is this one, Golden Enlightenment 20-year anniversary edition. And
Nice.
I've got other ones, but this is a third one I happen to have on the desk. The Reason Why You Were Born.
Yeah,
I have them on the desk because I was chatting with somebody else yesterday and showing them.
brilliant. It is so powerful,
Anyway, I
isn't
just
it?
thought I'd share all that.
We
Sorry?
each have it's like we're each holding a piece of the jigsaw, and so sharing our piece of the jigsaw with others to help everyone on their journey feels important,
Yeah, that's it. You never know. I mean, some people say, "Oh, you can't awaken these people. They've got to find it for themselves." But just plugging away, like you were saying with the people that are very good at selling things. They just keep on like a
Yeah.
drip feed, and eventually, sometimes you do sow a seed. And that's all you can do. You can try and sow a seed and hope for the best. And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's a good analogy there, or
Yeah.
the symbolic way of looking at it.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, James, and sharing
No.
with us.
No problem. I'll put some links in the chat
Yeah,
if
please
anybody's
do.
interested.
Okay, cool. All
Thanks
right. Thank you. Right, so we're going to come to Brian and then Eileen and Wendy and Sue. Got a bit of a queue forming now. So Brian, let's come to you.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Yes, we were talking about motivation, wasn't we?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just commenting there somewhere. Let me put this back in. Yes. Yeah, I have to wake up in the morning and get into my breathing and get into some sort of affirmation or something, because I can go into a dark place, isn't it? It's been a hell of a few years. Yes, woking wasn't quite what hasn't turned out how I expected, isn't it? Turned out to be quite bankrupt. There's a lot of corruptness going on, and it's a job to know where my place is in it, because yes, I hit the corrupt system and the NHS, who's got subsidiaries, a Borders Trust and a trust here. All these people are sort of self-employed and have their own sort of companies now under a banner of NHS. They have sort of weaponised it, haven't they? They have, yes, so depression. Yes, so yeah, we all have our ups and downs, but some people get it more than others, and yes, they tried to diagnose me with bipolar. I've got a complaint about it because yes, I think that they've got it all a bit wrong. And they wanted to give me, they didn't want to give me any therapy or anything anyway. They just wanted to give me injections or tablets to subdue me or something.
Yeah.
So that is your mental health. I do the well-being, isn't it? It's the training I got because I used to be an addict. I guess I still am, but the alcohol nearly killed me. The class A's nearly killed me as well. And yes, one has to, well, I hit proper rock bottom before I switched it round. I still have my ups and downs pushing forwards. But yes, unfortunately, yes, that lady said it right. That she sort of realised she was DNA awake and she created her own. You create it for yourself, don't you? You create your own illness through your own stresses and strains. And this is what we need to, when first thing in the mornings and last things at nights, especially, that we get into our affirmations and get into the happy and the flow. And it's only a few minutes each morning, isn't it? And you can turn it into a bit of a stretch. You can do it in your chair. You just have to sit with your back straight, your head up, and relax your face and your chin, and just count your breath. And that's amazing what you're doing with the drums and the bell. Yes, I need to get it. I want to blow a flute or a recorder or something.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I'd love to get more involved in something. I've been spending too much time, what I call the metaverse now, isn't it? It is where I am now. I know we're on this Zoom meeting and this is communications, but I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I don't do the social media anymore, like you. I want to get back into the community and have face value. But yes, I sort of clash with the system here, and it's finding my place. Yes, so I wanted also to say something just quickly. I think I've said enough, but I'm beginning to notice even more that some people that have had this experimental treatment, their sort of personalities have sort of changed a little bit. And they have, this has sort of led them into a sort of depression.
Yeah.
And it's like there's something sort of missing. And I don't like to say that, I'm heart and soul and stuff like that, because these, but the last person I talked to was a sort of Gurkha who'd been through the mill, and he had the injection. He's not been the sort of same since. And
Yeah.
he sort of doesn't know because he's sort of brought up in the heart and the soul. So yes, he seems so confused compared to what his past probably was and how he is now, drinking and smoking too much and taking the medication for depression and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I sort of said to him, you know, you should put in a complaint about this experimental treatment they give you, because he was working at the McLaren's factory, doing the cleaning there, who works for a subsidiary. The cleaners and all that are a company in themselves. So
Yeah.
yes, it's not actually McLaren that forced him to have the injections in the first place.
Yeah.
It was the company that worked for the McLarens. But it's the sort of catch-22 we can find ourselves in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who is accountable? They can just play games, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we are empowered. We're not powerless. Together we are unstoppable and inevitable. And I love what you're doing. And yes, I'd love to be at your service, because here in Woking they're a bit slow catching on. Well, I've got past and character defects that I'm dealing with the shadow work. So yes, yes, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, am I? This is it. I can sort of upset people because yes, I had complaints about Margaret Thatcher back in the day, and everybody turned a blind eye, you know. So yeah, when they took us off the gold reserve, yeah, I was going to end in tears, but nobody seemed to, you know, and but
Okay, Brian. So yeah, thank
yes,
you for coming on. I'm just
yes, thank you for everything you're doing. Amazing for letting me speak.
yeah.
And I'll let you get on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Brian. And interesting, isn't it, how the default of the sort of NHS is drugs and pharmaceuticals for depression, as opposed to some of the remedies we've been talking about. Yeah, Brian, I've muted you back, so I'm gonna. If you want to come on again, put your hand up again. I'm gonna keep going round. I'm coming to Eileen now, then Wendy, then Sue, then Karine. Hi, Eileen. I'm tempted to say, come on, Eileen. Hi.
Yes. So, am I on?
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. That's often brings to mind when I say my name. I was prompted to actually speak this morning when you said what motivates you. I have to say I am a tea drinker, and I do feel that this is why everybody's depressed, because they're all drinking coffee and they should be drinking tea. So I've spent a lifetime of sort of dabbling in things and getting more heavy into one thing than another. So if you look back on your life, there are sort of crossroads where things happen to sort of steer you or wake you up or steer you in another direction till you sort of, you know, you feel as though this is where you're supposed to be. And of course, the last one was 3 years ago. All of a sudden things changed, and my whole belief system and everything I believed and trusted and people that I trusted, it just went haywire. Anyway, but you say what motivates you. What I read every morning is the Book of Daily Thoughts and Prayers, Swami Paramananda. This is my holy book.
All right.
This is what it's come to at the end of, I want to say, the end of my life. Latter part of this present period in my life, I've been reading this for years, and it's a thing that I found is the most value to me and the most positive, and I don't know, it's just my holy book.
So Eileen, I realised as Brian was talking that I forgot to do an invocation today. So would you like to read a short passage from your book, just to align us and inspire us, maybe?
Right. Yes. This is this morning, salient thought for the day: try to serve truly. All power comes through true service. And it goes on lines to memorize. Love is a miracle. Behold its working. It bringeth life to the dead. It bringeth joy to the sad. It bringeth light to the dark and despondent soul. It waketh the spirit that slumbereth in doubt. And then it goes on with a lesson, support for the day, and then it finishes with a prayer. Shall I read the prayer?
Yeah, please do.
Supreme Spirit, awaken in me an ever greater consciousness of Thee, that I may never fail to follow Thy guidance. Bestow on me wisdom to serve the needy, gladness of heart to cheer the sorrowing, and loving kindness to comfort the distressed. Grant unto me the power to help all who are in need of help. That's today's.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Eileen. That's really lovely. Did you want to say anything else?
Just a thank you, and Saz and Helen, because you are all the people participating in the People Speaker are my virtual friends.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you very much. I look forward to this each week. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you.
Yeah, Helen will be back for the next one in 2 weeks' time. So,
okay, that's it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, thank you. And I'm going to come to Wendy next. Wendy Jackson. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Rachel. Hi,
Hiya.
everybody. Hiya. I just wanted to say my things that I do for feeling good is I do 3 lots of gratitude in the morning, or just to pick 3 things that I'm grateful for as I wake up. And then I do it when I go to bed. But what I also wanted to share with you is that I went to a comedy club last night that's for like wide awake people.
Okay.
It's called the Barnyard Comedy Club near Nuneaton, and it's a dairy farmer that has given one of his sheds, he's transformed it into a place to go and where they have comedy. So I've got nothing to do with it other than I went last night, and it was probably one of the best things I did, because having a really good laugh is obviously, as we know, really good for the spirit and the soul. So their next one is in 3rd of September. It's on a Sunday. You can go from 2 o'clock. The show starts at 4 and it finishes at 7. And they've got Richard Vobes, Andrew Lawrence, and Abby Roberts next month. I just thought I'd let you know about that as well.
Cool.
All
Thanks,
right.
Wendy.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming on. Let's come to Sue next. Sue Lister. Hi, Sue.
Hiya.
Hi.
This is a bit off topic, I think, for today, but it follows on from something that was raised last time, and it was about children. And we mentioned there was a film, and the name of the film, the title escapes me.
Sound of Freedom.
That's it, Sound of Freedom, that's the one.
Yeah.
And I know some of us are wondering about the motives and the funding for that film and that kind of thing. So what I wanted to mention in respect of helping children is that there's a charity I donate to called the Project Rescue Children. I mean, some of you might have heard of that. And the reason I mention it is because, they work all over the world. They're based in Australia. The guy who runs it is called Adam Whittington. Like Instagram or not, they post on there, but it's a way of keeping up to date with what they're doing. But they also have a website, of course. And I mention it because he's ex-military and ex-police, and he runs these kind of undercover operations on the dark web, etc., to find children, basically. And so I'll just mention it in case anyone's interested. One of the things he's looking at developing is a kind of tracker that is not on the internet, and it's used between the children and the parents. I don't know any more about it than that, but he's posted bits of information about it, and also the projects that they're involved with and the education that they offer for anyone who wants to help children. So I thought I'd mention it. I'll pop the website in the chat if anybody wants to look them up and see whether they're interested. That kind of thing.
Cool. Thanks, Sue. Yeah, please do put that in the chat. And thank you for coming on. and sharing
Well.
that. Okay, let's come to Corinne next.
Hello, hi.
Hiya.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, this is super quick, really. Two things. Motivation. In the morning, I often just get out. I've got a bit of lawn. I stand on the lawn, bare feet, and if there's sun, or even if there's where I think the sun will be, I just do this shielding and invoking I am love and light. And holding to the light, and also saying I do not consent to dark forces. So that's one of my sort of, when I'm good, I'll bring in different archangels, and at night I will do the same thing to keep me protected through the night. So that's one of my things I do most days. But what I wanted to share, I've actually had a nightmare about 110 days of trying to move from Virgin Media to BT. There's been an unbelievable shit show that has gone on, and over the weeks, on and off, I've ended up with 2-hour calls. I'm ending up really triggered, in fury, but also being kind to the person, recognizing it's not their fault, feeling very frustrated and full of despair, and so many calls. I end up crying, and just the other day, there was yet another thing that had gone wrong. I mean, we are almost connected. Anyway, and I just felt so bruised after yet another call where you wait for hours and you get cut off or you don't get cut off. And anyway, and I just felt, I feel like I'm being broken open. And then it was like, oh, maybe the gift in this. I mean, I've had lots of gifts where I've had to try and just kind of keep present, keep open-hearted, know this will change. Actually, it's almost like I feel broken open. And why am I now so very quickly triggered into this trauma? And I feel the gift in all of this is just like, actually, I do have some very old birth trauma stuff. And I thought, well, maybe I just need to go and be with someone who does this. I think it's called TRE. It's a triggering, it's a trauma release technique. And I thought, actually, maybe this is a gift. Actually, in this time, the gift in all of this is that actually there is still trauma that's clearly coming out, or my nervous system is really being triggered. And so I feel, well, actually, that's a positive outcome, just to go deeper into release work, as because I just felt so clearly, oh my God, I just feel I'm being broken open.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to share, putting a positive slant on something that has been utterly hideous. Anyone on any of these tech companies can believe that what we've actually had to go through.
Yeah.
So
it's
anyway,
interesting,
onwards
Corinne,
and onwards.
I had a similar thing with O2 about 6 months ago when I was trying to upgrade my son's phone, and I was kind of distinctly left with the feeling that the false matrix deliberately builds in this kind of, it deliberately does it to be triggering and to create as much despair and anger, and because it feeds the system. And
Exactly.
I was really left feeling with that, like, why isn't this simple? Like, it could be so simple. Why is and even the guy on the end of the phone was like, I don't know why it's so complicated. I don't know. It should be simple, shouldn't it? And I'm like, yes, it should be really simple. And then it was like, well, why isn't it? And the only conclusion I could come to was that it's deliberately made that way.
Yeah, I thought that.
Yeah.
On the button, Rachel, as ever. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. Anyway, well done for persevering.
Onwards. Thank you. And I'm delighted about Cressbrook for you.
Thank you.
Super pleased.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, let's come to Lisa now, and then we'll come to Carol again. And anyone who else wants to come, we've got, it's 12:45. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Yeah, I couldn't agree more actually with what you were just discussing. It's like the 3D world just messes up now, doesn't it? And we can't get anywhere when we try and engage with it. But things that have motivated me in the last few years. Well, firstly, I dissolved my whole life and I've moved up to the Scottish Highlands. I don't now engage in what could be truth, what could be false. I'm not engaged in it. Because we don't know, and it doesn't concern me and it doesn't concern my growth. So what I tend to do now is if I have a goal, is that I breathe something into it on a daily basis. And I start my day quite often now fasting. I get out into the highlands with my dogs, and I'll find that when I'm fasting and I'm opening my heart to the divine, whatever needs to shift tends to shift, and sort of tears might come, or, and I just feel so much more healed in the nature. So I know we all went through this roller coaster of the last few years and sort of a dark night of the soul. And I think we kind of mentally took things potentially all the way where it could go. But through that, I recognize that we've all grown and sort of ascended in our consciousness as well. And I came to this profound realization, and it all pathways back to when I was a child, and I've created, it's now a publication, it's a conscious publication. And I was thinking, okay, how can I bring my spiritual gifts to the world? And I found that there's so many people, coaches, coaching coaches, and you've got to part with 10 grand for this information. I'm thinking, no, this doesn't align. I don't want to charge somebody sort of £750 for, my time. It was all sort of very 3D, and I wasn't aligning with it. And I came to this realization, I'm going to create a conscious publication for everybody. So you can sign up for free, or there's a membership option as well. And it's all about raising us in the upwards direction and growing. So I'm actually I'm onboarding with writers at the moment, people that have got transformation stories, to submit their writing if they wish. And if you want to add about your project, Rachel, most welcome. And we feature and put your links on there as well. So I'll pop the links in there. But it's just been such an incredible journey, I think. And I think we've all had to go through this dark night of the soul, look at the dark aspects within ourselves, and in order to be able to grow and sort of come to light. But I will say, in terms of motivation, a winner never quits and a quitter never wins. And if we have a goal, then we have to breathe life and energy into it daily. The difference with a divine goal is you've got to sort of, you have to use your divine prudence. It's not like the 3D, that's my goal, that's the money. That it hasn't been like that. It's been a trust of faith. And as I've opened my heart to the divine, magically the right people have come in. And it just goes so beautifully, and it's not stressful either. It's actual joy, and it feels like I'm just now aligned on my path.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, your energy field is looking very clear and sparkling and bright. So well done.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Lisa.
That's okay.
What you're creating reminded me a bit, as you're talking about it, of Jack Canfield, of how he started Chicken Soup for the Soul. Was a little newsletter, wasn't it? And then he turned it into a book, and it became a millions bestseller sort of overnight.
Yes, who knows?
You know that story.
It's just, yes, I do actually. I'm on his page, but I very much shut out outside noise and got out the way of myself, because we all do that. We get in the way of ourselves, and that's when I get stuck. And I lose that divine connection. And if I just shut out what everybody else is saying, or take what I feel aligns, then the flow opens up. And it's all just coming in so lovely and beautifully, and just trusting in that. And opening something up to everybody and coming from the heart.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Lisa.
Oh, you're
sharing.
welcome.
Okay. I'm going to come next, I think, to James, if that's okay, Carol, because you've been on before. Let's just have a little look at the gallery, see who we've got on. We've got 38 people on at the moment. It's good to see you all. Let's just come back to, if anyone wants to speak, there's 10 minutes left. Otherwise, I will let James and Carol hog the last 10 minutes. Let's come to James next then, and maybe Carol, you'll have the last word. James, hi.
Hello, hello, hello. It's good to see you. I'm late in, flip's sake. But I just want to know, is today's recording on like you put up on YouTube, like or what?
Yeah,
Because
we are recording, and it will go on YouTube. So try not to mention anything about the Britney Spears.
yeah, like that, yeah. And so I heard there's more on the way. Not about the job.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, James. But best not to mention anything about that as we're going on to
Yes,
YouTube.
sorry. Yeah.
I'm going to have to hover over the mute button here now. I can see.
They're trying to push everything onto us. I don't think that's right. You know what I mean?
What did you want to share today, James?
Well, just ask you if it was on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, it will be. It will be, and I usually upload it after the call, so it will be on. So look, I'm going to come now to. Actually, we've got. I will come to you, Carol, but I'm coming to people who haven't spoken before. So I'm going to come to Julie next. Eat, bake, sing. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Rachel. Wendy told me to come on. I just want to tell you about something that's on at the weekend called the Shine Seminars. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Okay. I think, yeah, we did have the guy behind those on a couple
Yeah, so
weeks.
he asked me to sing there on Friday, so I'll be singing on Friday night. I'm a folk singer.
Okay.
And I didn't realise what it was all about, and yeah, it sounds really good anyway, because I don't go to many things, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's all I want to say, really.
Tell us about it. Where is it? So is it just Friday night, or is it the whole weekend?
It's the whole weekend. I think it's near Bristol somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, there's all speakers. I'm really sorry, I just don't know many of the people that are there. I'm just turning up and singing and hope for the best. I know it's going to be nice. Got a really good feeling about it.
Roseanne is saying Forest of Dean, the shineseminars.org.
That's it. Yeah, I've just
she's
put the.
speaking about lucid dreaming. So, and Julie's put the
and
link
Richard
on.
Roves, I think, as well will be there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Brilliant. And what time are you singing?
Singing is what time? 8 o'clock.
Cool. And what's so you sing folk, do you?
Yeah.
How long's your set?
I have no idea. I'm just turning up to sing. Yeah, it'd be nice. But yeah, singing is channeling, isn't it? It's channeling something else.
Yeah. Wonderful, Julie. So if anyone wants to come and see Julie sing, all the links are in the chat. And if you're watching the recording to this, you get the chat if you're signed up to the mailing list, and I send out the chat after the call. So thanks, Julie, for that. I'm going to come to you now, Carol. Again.
Hello again.
Hi.
This is more on a positive and follows on from like the group meetings. I'm involved with the community assemblies, and I went over on Friday to join the Northampton team, who are quite active. And the pure joy of just being in a pub where everybody's awake and you can just talk and be open and not have to think about anything was just so joyous. So all I really wanted to say is go and find your groups out there, connect with them, because it makes such a difference. I mean, it's 40-minute drive for me, but I'm going again tonight because we're going to talk about law and how to tackle things. But
so is that like a private room, or do you just meet in a pub and just socialise?
It's, well, actually, the guy that runs the pub is the owner, and he's awake. So they have a curry night once a month, which is what I was there on Thursday. They've had a barbecue before now that I went to in the middle of nowhere on a riding school. But it's just such a joyous thing of being with people with the same outlook.
Yeah.
And just being able to have conversations about anything and everything, and discuss different options going forward. Be interesting tonight to hear how they're challenging things like council tax and energy bills, because I just find it amazing that last week, was it British Gas announced £900 £900 billion profit yet again exceeding previous limits, and nobody's thinking, hang on a second, what's going on? I'm
We're
being
being ripped
crucified.
off, yeah.
It just doesn't comprehend how people can still accept it and not be asking some serious questions. So it was nice just to be with people and share ideas and thoughts and how people are looking after themselves, what different treatments they've got, what issues they've got, and being able to help each other. It was just wonderful.
Wonderful. So is there a website where people can find their local community assembly? Carol, can you put the link?
There is.
That?
I will try and get it into the link before you shut the meeting down. I'm setting up the Warwickshire with 2 other people, and we're a little bit like, where should we start? So that's why we're going to Northampton and engaging to see what they're doing.
Yeah, cool.
But it's quite interesting because talking to one of them was actually the other member from Leamington, and I hadn't realised, but there's a place called Whitnash, which is the bottom of town. They actually set up a residents association, and now all the councillors that they vote for come from that residents association, and they control what happens in their area. So they've actually taken back their control of the council in that area. So it's quite exciting times. But I'll shut up and I'll go and find the link and I'll post it on.
Yeah, please do, Carol. Thank you. And as we're coming up to, if you do that quickly, because as we're coming up to 1, I'll probably end the call here. And just to say thank you everyone for coming on and sharing this week. It's good to have this kind of community assembly, isn't it? We've been going now with the People Speak Out since January 2021. So this is, getting on for 3 years. So we're in it for the long haul. And like many of the Stand in the Parks and these hubs, it's important for us to keep going. And community is the greatest technology of the Aquarian age, is what a tribal elder said that, and I said that at the speech at the Freedom Fest the other week. Community is the greatest technology of the Aquarian age. So even if it's just a few people that stand in the park, these groups, whether it's online, even better to meet in person, but all of these amazing communities and groups gathering. So it's really wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining, and have a great Monday. So sending you lots of love. And in 2 weeks' time, Helen will be back hosting. So we'll see you then, which I think is maybe the 13th of August. I'll confirm it anyway. So 2 Mondays from now. Okay, lots of love. Give us a wave. Bye for now. Have a great day. Have a great week. And maybe see you at the All About Love Festival. I'm going on Thursday for 4 nights. Okay, bye for now.